Hello, my name is Natalie. I created the bullet when I was in a dark place. It is a philosophical podcast that talks about human integrity and freedom, that is influenced by psychological concepts, more mystical or even spiritual ideas, and my artistic stance. However, coming from a dark place, I am not asking why the world is as it is so as to make sense of it, to write yet another scientific essay, to find an excuse for why the world has to be the way it is. I find the society we live in very questionable. I do not like how the modern Western worldview is considered synonymous with objective truth. So when I ask why the world is as it is, I am asking so as to undermine the foundations of a world that, in my opinion, needs to be unsettled and rethought. I think it is crucial to realize that perception is not a tool for finding out the truth. It is how we communicate with the world around us. It is a tool of expression, of self-actualization. And to understand this is to grasp the magic that lies within the gift of subjectivity. I hope that you'll enjoy listening. I was such a happy child. I was getting along with everyone. I was being very kind. Well, I could sometimes be a little stubborn, yes. But I grew out of that nicely over time. And I really had the best conditions one could dream of, honestly, So I guess it's just normal that I am resilient. Yes, very sturdy. No, I'm not the giving up kind of person. No, not at all. I don't easily throw in the towel. You see, when they first started making fun of me, and I mean, it was really nothing in the beginning, a little joke here and there, some comments that probably even contained an element of truth. I just stood tall and said, well, I guess this is my life now, and made the best of the situation. Or when later they broke the little candlestick I'd crafted for my mom, when they spit in my food or took my shoes so I had to walk home barefoot, I still stood tall and said, well, I guess this is my life now, and made the best of the situation. When they turned my best friend against me and I had to change schools because bullying had gotten out of hand, I stood tall and said, well, I guess this is my life, and made the best of the situation. When the teacher repeatedly screamed at me because I was having blackouts in class where I didn't know how to respond anymore, why do I have to be so stubborn? I stood tall and said, well, I guess this is my life now, and made the best of the situation. When my partner left because I was such a downer all the time and clingy, well, I guess this is my life now. When my new partner, who seemed to be more caring but possessive, started reading my mail, I guess this is my life now. When my new partner called me a cheat, screamed at me repeatedly because I was blacking out once again, not knowing how to respond anymore. I guess this is my life when now. I lost my job, I'd shown up late, and drunk. I guess this is my life. My partner hit me because I had in fact cheated on him. This is my life now. People started talking behind my back. My new job, politely trying not to stare at the bruise on my face, talking to me. This is my life when now. They took my children, because an anonymous caller had reported a concern about domestic abuse. Well, I guess when my partner left me for an affair that apparently had been going on for a couple of years. I guess this is my life. When again I got fired for showing up late. This is my life now. Drunk. Well, when I had to move back in with my mom because I couldn't afford my old flat anymore, getting screamed at repeatedly for being such a fuck up. This is my life now. Not able to respond. I guess this is my life now. So goddamn stubborn. This is my life now. So you see, I guess it's just natural that I am so, resilient. Do I feel resentful? No, I don't think so. I like to just take life as it comes. Take the lemons life gives you and make lemonade, no? Oh, no, thank you very much. Yes, I could start working immediately. Yes, please let me know. Welcome to the 5th episode. This episode and the next one are going to be the last 2 episodes of Season 1 of The Bullet. And I have decided to actually turn these 2 into a long 2-part episode. So, more accurately, welcome to Part 1 of the season finale. The title of Part 1 is Jump Fast, Squeeze Hard, the nerve-wrecking story of grinning and bearing. Let's start. I have been thinking about why and how we choose certain paths in life. And the reason is that lately I have been super pissed about the fact that so often in life we somehow end up prioritizing things that we actually don't love and maybe don't even care about. Spending a lot of our time and energy on things and people that don't bring any joy to our life. That we wouldn't normally consciously choose to be playing that big of a role, to be paving our way, influencing our life, ourselves, our habits and perception that much. It's the things, people, situations in life that seem to be getting in the way of us doing what we would actually want to do, what we would actually want to be and express. And we tolerate that, thinking that the situation might somehow be indirectly useful or good for us, maybe in the long run. Maybe we just need to address, get rid of, work through it, or grin and bear it so as to be able to later get back to what really sparks our passion. And this is not an entirely stupid thought, but I could just go up the walls out of anger and frustration when I see how often people forget the getting back to what really sparks our passion part. How often they just don't make it through the grinning and bearing. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about situations where people genuinely experience a change in their desire, standards and goals, where they actually come to reevaluate the situation, where what didn't seem attractive before turns out to be great. No, I'm talking about the many cases of people living a life that is filled with things, situations, routines, relationships, jobs. They mostly just work through and off so as to make it through the day, hoping to gain at least some, money, peace of mind, but that don't really satisfy them or give them a chance to express something that is true and of value to them. I'm talking about people who would live entirely different lives if it weren't for the multitudes of obstacles that somehow keep getting in their way. And I know it's tricky to talk about this, because this topic can be really frustrating, and in general, I'm also more a supporter of the idea that we shouldn't perceive anything or person as an obstacle, that we shouldn't try to fight and resist life or the flow of life in that way, that rather than that, we should try and see these obstacles as an opportunity to grow, taking the lemons that life gives you to make some lemonade, as they say. And yes, to overthink a painful, frustrating, debilitating situation in that lemonade-making manner can sometimes give us just the kick we need in order to feel in control of our life again. And oh yes, I have myself used this strategy, this point of view, a lot to survive painful situations and phases in my life. But in all honesty, there are a lot of pitfalls to this strategy. And one cannot just use it infinitely often without getting frustrated and tired and feeling a bit betrayed at some point. If we make this method our go-to strategy in life, chances are that we will become very good at adapting and lemonade making, yes, and that are amazing abilities to have, but we will not exactly be successful in choosing and going after what we really want, because in order to end up in that place where we'd actually like to be, we would have to say no to and leave the places we bump into on the way that are not the right places for us. If we just stay in those unsatisfactory places, trying to make the best out of the situation, because we have learned that no situation, no place is a bad place, but just a chance to become a better person, we will become better and better people in more and more shitty places and situations, and we will pile up a lot of anger, which makes sense. Because anger and aggression are essentially the forces that would drive us to say no to things and people and situations and places that are just not where we want to be. So, how come we have this tendency to rather tolerate and stay in a situation that doesn't suit us than to say no? Why is it so hard for us to feel that anger? Why is it so hard to access it? To access the power that lies in that emotion, that, like no other emotion, is so potent in bringing about change when change is needed. Why are both, anger and change, so difficult to have and realize in the society we live in? Let's get back to where we started first. Why and how do we choose certain paths in life? As humans, in general, we all share pretty much the same set of needs and emotions. We all have our basic physical needs that are about sustaining our bodies. We all need safety, love, acknowledgement. We all need to express. And in and through all of that, we feel joy, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust, in all of their various blends, shapes, and forms. However, we all experience those needs and emotions differently, according to our surrounding, the way the people around us react and respond to those needs and emotions, according to our individual abilities and preferences, our individual disposition, temper, perseverance, and stamina, according to the decisions and consequences that follow our needs and emotions. And based on that, we all develop very different and unique strategies of meeting our needs, very different and unique ways of feeling and expressing our emotions, and very different and unique ideas about what lifestyle, behavior, morals, beliefs, surroundings, relationships, jobs, hobbies, goals would fit that expression of personhood that we personally are. So the paths in life we choose are very much about us feeling, expressing, and actualizing our personality, and about giving ourselves to the world in a way that would ideally exploit the maximum potential of that unique perspective we hold. Now, caution please. Saying it like that can make it sound as if there were better and worse ways of being yourself, or that you could end up not being yourself if you're not careful and working hard enough. Both of which are thoughts I hate and don't subscribe to. You always are yourself. You don't have to actively be or become yourself. You don't have to earn that or prove that, and no one can take yourself away from you. So what I mean when I say exploiting the maximum potential of the unique perspective we hold is, I would wish for you to be able to feel and express and give yourself to the world as freely and pleasurably as possible. In a way where you can say, oh, I love that story when looking at your life. But please, don't hurt and discredit yourself through thinking that you are worthless or that your life is meaningless when, in a moment of time, you can seem to find that little grain of salt that would turn an experience you're having into a ooh, I love it story. Anyway, the importance of what paths we choose, as they are closely connected to our sense of self and will fundamentally influence our well-being, should be clear. So, how can we even get distracted from and lose track of what would be a good path for us? How can it happen that we end up on paths that are not in alignment with who we are, how we feel, what we want to do and express? How can we lose our orientation like that? Let's assume that in going through life, there's always a give and take type of exchange happening between our own visions and plans and that which is happening around us that potentially has its own flow, its own plan. So between the things we put out into the world and, reversely, the things the world puts on our plate, if you will. Now, obviously, it can happen that there is a discrepancy between the two, that whatever we might be wanting right now doesn't match up nicely with what is put in front of us. We, as humans, with an urge to express, guided by our needs and orienting through the feedback of our emotions, will naturally perceive this disalignment as an obstacle or lack. We see that we're getting something that we didn't want or that we're not getting something that we wanted very much. We feel disappointment, sadness, anger, frustration. And we will have to react to that. We will have to work through these emotions and look for ways of overcoming these obstacles and rectifying these lacks. And naturally, that would be also how we learn, how we become more capable, how we get inspired. But what happens when we bump into the same obstacles over and over again? When we don't manage to use these lacks as a motivator anymore, because we just don't see any improvement in the bigger picture of the situation? This is when, after a while, we will get insecure and start identifying through the bad experiences we make on our path, or paths, in case we've already explored a couple. This is when we think that maybe we are not capable enough, that maybe we are wrong, or that we chose the wrong path. And yes, it may, of course, be that we simply need to learn a little more, become more capable, or that we have to choose and try other paths. But it may also be that the structures that our society provides for certain paths and certain people on those paths are just not adequate, not good enough. And in that case, the wise and self-caring choice would not be to keep jumping between paths or squeezing lemons until all eternity, but to pick up a machete and open up some new trails for yourself and others. So the question really is, do these reoccurring obstacles and lags in my life mean that I just need to jump some more or squeeze a little harder? Or is it time to fight, to break some fresh ground? I believe that in order to find an answer, it makes sense to start by looking at ourselves, to take a closer look at the different ingredients that influence us in choosing our paths. For now, I would suggest, for example, to divide those influencing factors into 1. Our needs that have to be met. 2. Our goals that represent those needs. And 3. Our ways of achieving these goals. Looking at the 3 of these separately can already give us a lot of ideas and tools when thinking about how to overcome obstacles and lags. Looking at our needs, for example. Do our goals and ways of achieving actually lead to a satisfaction of our needs? If not, then we have to find better goals and or ways of achieving, because our needs have to be met. Looking at our goals. What needs do they represent? And are they really the best representation of those needs for ourselves? If so, then maybe we should look for better ways of achieving. If not, then we should look for other goals, better representations of our needs, better expressions of ourselves. Looking at our ways of achieving, do they get us where we want to be? Do we enjoy them? When they don't get us where we want to be and we don't enjoy them, we should look for other ways. When they get us where we want to be, but we don't enjoy them, we should also look for other, better ways. However, should they not get us where we want to be, but we do enjoy them? Should they give us a pleasure that goes beyond the mere anticipation of reaching our goals, then maybe we should let go of the goals we're trying to achieve for them, and let these pleasurable ways guide us to new shores. And in all of that, it is very important to not mistake our goals and ways of achieving for our needs themselves. Because when we think of them as synonymous, when we can't perceive them separately, we become blind to the freedom and possibilities we have in choosing and combining them. So again, needs have to be met. And there are multiple ways of doing that, as they are much more universal. Our goals and ways of achieving, however, are how we choose to go about satisfying those needs, hopefully expressing and actualizing ourselves as free and pleasurably as possible. Now, should taking a closer look and overthinking our needs, goals, and ways of achieving like that, should juggling the 3 of these the best we can, not help us at all, not give us any clue as to what else might help us to not run into the same obstacles and lags over and over again, then chances are that we will not solve the problem by jumping even more or squeezing even harder, that we will not find an answer through looking at ourselves. We then need to look outside ourselves and consider that the problem might be inherent within the system we are operating in, meaning our society, its structures, standards, and moral values. Because despite of its self-image and advertisement as a free, progressive society, it does favor certain needs, goals, ways of achieving, and certain correlations of those, while demeaning and ruling out other needs, goals, and ways of achieving, other correlations. So even if you're giving your best and juggling these 3 like a pro, if the needs, goals, and ways of achieving you choose to correlate, because you feel that they are closest to your truth and well-being, and that they would truly allow you to give yourself to the world with everything you have, if they just don't fall into the category of approved and favored by our society, you are fucked. You will have to either compromise on the side of your goals and ways of achieving and subscribe, for example, to contradicting goals and paths, just so as to be able to have all your needs satisfied. You will have to live with a double standard, double morale. Or you will have to compromise on the side of your needs and accept that you can never be fully satisfied if you want to try and stay true to your own standards and morale. And so these are the cases I am referring to when I talk about having to fight. Now, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't wish for you to have to fight. I would wish for you to have a life where you can be and act and express freely, where you find nothing but support for your dreams and visions, where you feel welcomed by your world saying, yes, we want you, we need you, without you we're incomplete. However, this is not at all, where we're at with our current society. And this is why and how we are not free. Why we need to reintegrate the missing parts of our human experience and expression into the workings of our world. This is why our society is not good enough. This is why we need change, why we need to fight. So, in case you feel lost according to your path in life, maybe it's actually time you drop the lemons and stop jumping, and get yourself ready to walk and explore entirely new paths. So, see you in the wilderness. Or, alternatively, also next week for part 2 and the last episode of season 1. Thank you for listening, and this week's song recommendation is What's Up, as performed by Lady Gaga at the Art Rave Vienna. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and would like to support it, please check out my Patreon page. That is patreon.com/thebulletbynatalievent. There you can find all information you might be interested in. And also feel free to leave me a comment or any personal thoughts you might have. They're all appreciated. I hope that the struggles you might be facing right now will turn into a bullet that will touch what needs to be touched, shatter what needs to be reassembled afresh, and implant the seed of change where freedom is needed. And I hope that you'll have a good week.